Let's talk heart to heart. Hello there. It's time for Talking Heart to Heart. Glad you could join us. We're here every Monday live, and but you can watch us anytime during the week. So thanks for coming by. The show is based on comments, so please leave your comments below, and I'll read them and respond to them as I can, and we'll have a conversation together. But let's talk heart to heart. The first few weeks we've been discussing our uniqueness in the world, the way that we are different than others, and what makes each of us unique. We've talked about that. And our Creator, you see, has endowed us with uniqueness. And He did it on purpose, is the idea. He did it like a creator does. He created us with purpose, designed us and made us, architected us, engineered us to be a particular way. And that's who we are as people. So this week, the comments that came back were really, there were... I proposed the question, do we think enough about uniqueness or not? And if not, why not? And nobody really had any doubts or even had any discussion about whether we do it too much or not enough. Everyone just sort of assumed we hardly ever talk about our uniqueness or think about our own uniqueness. And but the commenters agreed that there were 6 main reasons. So these comments were made in a lot of different ways. These are just a few quotes on the screen that we don't always see things that other people see in us, so we don't always know our uniqueness. Sometimes talking about uniqueness is bragging or feels like bragging, and we're not supposed to do that. Uniqueness also brings higher expectations, and so can press us when we think about our uniqueness. There's a higher level of what we internally feel like we should be accomplishing, and there's but at the same time there's a pressure in society to conform. So and then of course talking about our uniqueness is a vulnerable thing, and also our uniqueness is not tied up in our titles, so it's hard to think about, it's hard to come up with. Those are sort of the 6 categories that the comments fell into. I thought it was an interesting conversation, a lot of interesting thoughts. It's clear that people put some good time and thought into those comments, so please keep that coming. You don't have to have some profound thought. You can just respond to the show in any way that you like. So would really like that, but I don't want to put pressure on people to have to say something that's really profound that everyone will go, wow, isn't that amazing? You could say something that's obvious, and that would be helpful in the conversation, because maybe it isn't as obvious as you think. Nathan proposed an alternate solution to just trying to think about to just think about what's unique about us. And he said if we notice something unique, we should tell people about it, that we should go about telling it, because people might not realize it. And I just thought that was great. And actually, maybe we have 2 assignments this week. One, not just to respond to the question, but I'd suggest to you, maybe what if you ask somebody this week, what makes me unique? In what ways do you think I'm unique? That might be insight into what other people think, and I think that could be something fun. Then God said, this is what I want you to think about. Then God said, let us make mankind. We haven't looked at this verse yet. The Creator, right, created people. And so what does that mean for us? That the Creator made mankind in His image. And mankind, actually, the way the whole story is set up in the biblical record is that people were the culmination of creation. There's all these, I'm always struck that the universe, right, which was just unimaginably large. We keep discovering that it's so near infinite. It's so huge that we can only conceive of it almost as infinitely large, expanding on itself, and just ever growing at unbelievable speed, and it's enormous. And yet that's just like one line in the biblical perspective that sets up for later this statement, let us make mankind. Man is the pinnacle. The Creator first made the setting, and then he put man in the setting. Sort of like a painter would paint all the background and put things in place, and then he would put mankind in place. So this is what we've been talking about the first few weeks. But then the Creator interacted with mankind. So it wasn't like a watchmaker that wound things up and then just let it go. But the story in the Bible says that God was walking among the trees. He was interacting. He was just weaving in and out, almost like just a relationship, couple of friends being together. And immediately a series of events unfold. The first story, of course, involves trees and apples and snakes and all sorts of exciting things. But the whole biblical record then is the rest of it. So this beginning in the Bible is showing that there's a whole series of events where the Creator is guiding history for a purpose, and he's interacting with history at various points and opportunities. We see even in the story of the trees and the apples, the Creator is never out of control. It's all just sort of within the bigger plan, the events that are mapping out one day after the next, one circumstance, patiently interacting. The Creator patiently interacting with his creation from the very beginning. So, what I want you to consider is this, that the Creator is putting these people and events, these circumstances, these various players, these various actors in the show, all in place on purpose, for a purpose. It's not just a random set of events. It's not out of control. It's not chaos. It's process. And you see that from the very beginning. And so Al Dayhoff did his doctoral thesis. He's a friend of mine and my mentor in many ways. Al wrote a program called Decision to Disciple, which I actually spelled wrong on the screen, but the word disciple. But Decision to Disciple, he talked about discipleship in this way. And so he was getting at, I think, the same point that I was just trying to make to you. Discipleship is a series of events, Al says, that God has planned and implemented in the lives of each of his children. See, don't you often think, like, boy, I'd really like to have a mentor. There are various times in life when you're thinking, boy, it would be just great to have a friend and a mentor, to have someone looking out for me, teaching me, training me. I want to be the Padawan. I want to have someone, I want to be someone's protege. And what Al is saying is that God is that mentor, that God plans and implements things in the lives of his children to mentor them, to train and teach and grow. So that's the concept I want you to think about. We see that in this biblical narrative, in the story at the beginning, that things were done in order, on purpose. So, like I said, let's do 2 assignments this week. Ask people, in what ways do you think that I'm unique? Following Nathan's suggestion this week. And then I want you to answer. Selah's excited this show. I want you to answer our question of the week. How have you experienced the Creator's mentoring? In what circumstances, what events of your life? I'd like you to think very carefully about God as your mentor, as bringing you along purposefully from the beginning. What has he done? How has he orchestrated circumstances for you to grow as an individual? Lots of times we see circumstances as in the way, as a problem, but this is a different way of looking at it. How is what's going on in my life right now part of the process of learning and growing? What settings, what people, what events, what circumstances, what interactions, things that we might call chance occurrences. What if we looked at those as the Creator's mentoring? I'd like for you to think about this week. This is another unique thing. What are the unique circumstances that were put in place for you to be where you are now in the process you're in now, good or bad? Would you think about that this week? And boy, have a great week. I sure have enjoyed reading the comments. Please leave comments this week, and we will see you next week. Let's talk heart to heart.